Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves. And today I want to talk to you about a little box of stuff, the Mendelssohn String Symphonies. These are, I think, this is me, one of the most fascinating series of works that I've ever encountered. When I was writing my book on Mendelssohn, which I recommend very strongly, these pieces are just sort of out there. Everyone knows they exist, and everyone says the same thing, that they represent Mendelssohn's childhood, his immaturity, his they're teaching pieces or learning pieces. He never meant them to be performed. They were played in his house with their private orchestra. No one else ever did them. Well, I question that. Let me tell you, that may be true. That's how they were actually played. But the facts seem to speak otherwise. And yes, he was only like 7 when he started writing them or something like that. And he was, I think, 12 when he finished them. I mean, they were, do they have dates here? No, it doesn't matter. We don't have to get into that. Here's the point. First of all, Mendelssohn saved everything he did in beautiful, neat, well-organized notebooks, his complete works. Everything is there. So all of these things were very tidily, preserved and bound. He had them bound. And so it wasn't stuff that he threw out. He could have just gotten rid of them. If they were school exercises, he could have just trashed them, and he didn't. So obviously they had some meaning for him, whether it was as works to be performed or simply, to show what he was working on. Okay, whatever it was. Second, these pieces represent the history of the symphony as understood by a young genius. And what he does in these pieces is he starts with CPE Bach, basically, with the Berlin style, the North German, Berlin, Hamburg style of symphonies, 3-movement symphonies. And then he incorporates the Viennese style, incorporating a scherzo or a minuet. And he gets to the classical style of Mozart and Haydn. And then he gets beyond that, all the while integrating the contrapuntal mastery of Bach, which he was studying very intensively. He was a major Bach guy. So he fortifies that Rococo style with a healthy dose of counterpoint. And by the time he gets to the last of them, which is the 12th or the 13th, the 13th is just an extra movement. It's a symphonic movement. We're not sure exactly what his intentions were with it. So for all intents and purposes, it's an appendix to the set. Number 12 is the last of them. And number 13 became his first symphony. Symphony number 1 in C minor. By then, he was himself. He was in his own period. So it's a musical journey through time consisting of a dozen, plus a movement, pastiche kind of works, but they don't really sound like those other composers, although Mozart's influence looms very strongly, especially in number 8. Because number 8 exists in 2 versions. Number 8 exists in the original version for strings, and then Mendelssohn arranged it for full orchestra. He orchestrated it, and both of them are here, which is important because it's wonderful and fun to make the comparisons. So this is a BIS box. It has 4 discs. It features the new Sinfonietta Amsterdam, the Neiuw, N-I-E-U-W, the new Sinfonietta of Amsterdam, conducted by Markiz. And you can get this a couple of ways. This is available by itself, of just the string symphonies, or they are incorporated into that big box on BIS of the Andrew Litton Mendelssohn Symphony Cycle, along with all the concerti and the string symphonies. So you can get that. You can get it that way too, which is also a very, very fine set. It really is. It's first rate. But I think if you take some time, and this is a lot of music here. It's a good 4 or 5 hours of music, 4 hours and 40 minutes or so, 4.5 hours. It's one of the most astonishing musical journeys that anybody ever wrote, because none of them are bad. They're all extremely enjoyable. there's no, you can't detect the fact that he was like 7 when he started writing them, or 12 or 13 or something when he finished writing them, or 14, 15, I don't know. He was a kid, right? You don't hear that. What you hear is a completely methodical, systematic path to mastery, a journey through time. And every single piece represents a stylistic improvement or addition to what has come before. And these things, it's very easy to hear that. Sometime I'm planning to do a separate talk on these, really, so we can go through them, like the Haydn Symphony Crusade. At some point I have to do it, because it is so fascinating. And what's most interesting about it, perhaps, is that, the creative process is mysterious at the best of times. But these works reveal what made Mendelssohn's brain work in such a stunning way. He's such an open book as a result of this music. And these performances are marvelous, and they're fabulously well recorded. And I just think you need to hear this stuff. You really do. You need to take some time. They take some time, and work your way through them up to and including the first symphony at a minimum. Because by then, you see that's really the conclusion of the series. And I'm in awe of this. I really am. Not just because he was so young, but because it reflects such discipline and will and self-awareness. It's really staggering and almost scary when you think about it. And it's great music, too. Fun to listen to. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Great tunes, beautiful melodies, wonderful scoring and attention to texture. One piece has percussion, added percussion, a timpani and some percussion stuff. A couple of them use Swiss folk songs. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in here that he's actually playing with. And it's a thrill. It's a thrill to hear it. It really is. So Mendelssohn String Symphonies, mandatory collectible items for those of you who are building up your collections. You'll really want to get these, a set of them from somebody. There really aren't any bad ones, I don't think, except for the Court Mazur set, which is sort of a snoozeroo. But even that's not terrible. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.